So how do we make a task into a game? The most successful parlor and board games of all times have been carefully designed to turn what could be a boring task into an engaging game. Scrabble is essentially a spelling and word recognition test. Trivial Pursuit is a test of general knowledge. Monopoly has a strong maths component. These have been refined over many decades from the parlor games of the 19th century and remain popular today. But there is an important psychological principle at work here. If we thought of Trivial Pursuit as actually measuring our general knowledge and Scrabble as measuring our vocabulary, they would be IQ tests. And if we lost, it would imply that we had a lower IQ. By rebadging it as trivia, the authors have diffused the impact. Not knowing trivia might be seen as smart. Adding chance, like throwing dice, further diffuses it. I didn't lose because I'm stupid. It was the blasted dice. These psychological principles were at the heart of my career as a psychologist. They underlie all of the developments you'll see on my websites, whatever the topic, whether psychology, music, or astronomy. And that principle is variously called empowerment, or self-esteem, or locus of control, giving the participant the feeling that they can control things, minimizing humiliations. I started my working life in physical rehabilitation units. These patients had serious neurological damage, paralysis, spasticity, but the physiotherapists knew that these people had the same need as before their accident for some exercise for their hearts and lungs, even if the rest of their body couldn't move much. So we introduced some special games. I'll go into more detail in the next modules, but for our purposes here, we see gamification arising from a need. The need is for stimulation and exercise, even if only primitive reflex, like blocking something. I'll here introduce the term contaminants. This refers to something that is added into the learning mix inadvertently. For example, if we are designing a physical exercise, we may be adding social elements. That may be a good thing. But what if the social elements are well-intentioned people who stepped in and did the task for the learner? We set up a game for patients to exercise, but we find the staff doing more exercise than the patients. We're trying to build the patient's self-esteem, but each time they drop the ball, an able-bodied staff member steps in and saves the day. Bravo for the staff. Humiliation for the patient. So as we'll see, the design of these games was careful to maximize patient involvement and minimize staff involvement. Computer games are ideal for this. Computers don't have egos, yet. So homework for this module is to review some well-known games. How do they make it feel like fun rather than a chore? How do they level the playing field? How do they introduce unpredictability? Do they use chance or competition?